Everyone, how are you? Welcome to the 15th episode of Flowers and Friends. How exciting is this? I'm Ana Galena. I'm one of the hostess of Flowers and Friends, a talk show about friends and flowers, just like the name. I'm a floral designer, and with this show, I've been learning so much about flowers. Like, for example, today I'm going to be watercoloring. We have Karen and Dion with us. Hi, ladies.
Hello, I'm Kara Jameson. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Flowers and Friends talk show as well. I'm a cut flower grower and educator, and I am excited for today's show because I'm like a fish out of water here. I don't know much about painting, so I'm very excited to learn from our guest today and Miss Dion.
You guys, I am so pumped because we have a watercolor artist joining us today. And although my background isn't necessarily in her type of watercolor, I do it on a much larger scale. My business page is the Turquoise Iris. I am the owner, artist, and business coach as well. And I have been just chomping at the bit to get out some colors, and I've got like 5 feet of paint spread out all around. So I am ready, ladies.
Yay, this is so exciting. Why don't we get the show going? Why don't
Yeah,
we
let's play my favorite song so we can get to dancing. Let's go, ladies.
Oh, that is the best song ever.
I'm gonna hook that up to my playlist on my own on my Spotify. I need that, Monica, to the playlist. I really, really love it.
Definitely. Oh, and we're so excited. There's somebody from Denmark watching the show this morning. Yay.
Oh, good morning, Denmark.
For her, it's not morning. Good evening.
Yeah, if you guys could tell us in the comments, I would love for you to all put where are you watching from?
Yeah,
absolutely. And as usual, we always ask that you help us get the word out. Tag your friends, share this on your own social media pages if you can. Our expert artist is fabulous. She does a lot of live streamings. We're going to tell you more about her in a few minutes, but we're here every single Friday at 12 o'clock Central, streaming live for you. We are also streaming on bloomtvnetwork.com. So comment, let us know where you're from, let us know what you want to see in the upcoming shows, and tag your friends so they can also join in today.
Yay, yay, yay. And I want to let everybody know that you can watch the replays on YouTube, and there is this new really cool thing that YouTube just got out where you can see subtitles in 15 different languages immediately. So to all my Spanish speaking friends out there, a todos los que hablan español, si no entienden, pueden ver el episodio en diferido y le dan clic para que lo puedan ver en español. I just told everyone they can understand with the captions in Spanish because this is really awesome. A lot of people are always like telling me, by the way, I'm from Mexico, I'm Mexican. So a lot of people are always telling me like, I love the show, but I don't understand a single word. But you ladies are killing it every week. So everyone.
Well, speaking of last week, you guys, I'm never, ever, ever going to look at an okra again. The same way.
Right?
Like the okra has like, wait a minute. I thought it was just like I liked them pickled in a jar and in my salad, but I'm telling you what, I'm going to look at it totally different because now it can be a vase for me.
Yeah. You know, I was so sad I had to miss last week's show. So we had a guest host on, and I was going back through and watching the talk show, and I was like, is she really putting flowers in okra? I grow okra. I've never thought about doing that before. I've seen them dried and used in floral design, but it just has never occurred to me to hollow them out and put fresh flowers in there. I thought that was genius. You know, using what you grow, or maybe whatever you can pick up at a farmer's market. Very cool.
I really love the idea of putting the toothpicks because if your flowers are not edible and you want to use a
Right.
tomato or whatever you want to put your flowers in, it's so important that if your flowers are not edible, they are not touching your food because that can be poisonous. So I love the idea of putting the toothpicks to the flowers to add them to fruit or vegetable. Last week's show was incredible.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
for being from the South, you hear about collard greens. I mean, everybody in the comments,
Yeah.
tell me now if you're brave enough to eat collard greens, because
Oh, that's a no.
Sydney, what, Kara?
I know. I'm from the South.
Okay, well, I think it's the smell that I don't prefer. But when Sydney started showing us how you can wrap the collard green leaves inside a vase and take a basic dollar store vase and that's glass and wrap. Okay, so I'm gonna buy some. I'm gonna buy a bundle. And then she said that was like $3 a bundle. You can't find fresh flowers for that price. So let's go ahead and roll last week's clip, shall we?
Yes.
Framing Floral Techniques is a step-by-step how-to floral design book geared towards beginner and intermediate floral designers. So it's really helping you refine your skills and sort of level
We
up.
actually are doing a dinner party this evening where we had to come up with some different ideas and concepts for the place cards. So here's another one. Same little name tag, same kitchen twine, but this time we used okra.
And I was like, is that okra? You've got my favorite pickled okra over there?
Oh, yeah. So it's not pickled yet, but after a couple of the martinis, maybe. So
I did, ladies. I'm so proud of myself.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Okay. Hopefully it
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful.
That is so beautiful.
It was just in my front yard, and it didn't go to. Oh, okay. Pretend you didn't see that hydrangea falling.
Big deal. I cook with them, but I don't do a lot of flower arranging. I see them beautiful and I connect with them in just a different way. But Bloom again has opened these doors for us and our creativity to really experiment with them in these other ways. And Anna especially is so encouraging, as so many of you know. And she speaks my language. She talks about flowers and your connection to the soul.
Oh, that was a beautiful show, and I love the part where your hydrangea fell.
Matt told me, he goes, Matt said, Dion, don't just set that in there. It's going to fall out. And I was like, I got this, babe.
Wait, Dion, did you use chicken wire? No.
What do you think? I don't have that just laying around, Kara. I mean, where am I going to find that? I've got to go to, isn't that at a special chicken store?
No.
Well, actually, I do get it from a chicken store because I live on a farm and that's easy. But floral designers do get it from a wholesaler that is special coated and, you know.
No, but you can get it anywhere. You can get it at a hardware store. No, you don't have to go to a chicken store or to a farming store or nothing like that. It's so easy. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, or even your local hardware store.
Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you, this week's show, we have Kristy Rice on. Ladies, how did you feel when you found out Kristy was going to join us and she was going to do a watercolor tutorial and you all are going to get to paint with her today live? How'd you feel about that?
I am so excited about this. I mean, I have my watercolors. I have my book that I've been reading, and I love this because I've never been a painter, and thanks to you, I started painting, and now I'm gonna start watercoloring. How about you, Kara?
I was like, I don't paint. Like I create with flowers in the garden. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, what kind of paper do I need? Like, what kind of paints? Like, you know, I'm excited because it's push me out of my comfort zone and allow me to do something new. So how about we bring Kristy on and say hello and talk about her new book. Hello, Kristy.
Oh my.
Hi, hey everybody.
Yeah. Kristy, we're so glad that you're here. This book has glorious pages, and then I found out that it's just one of many of your books. So for our audience who doesn't necessarily know what you do or where they can find you, tell everybody. I mean, you describe yourself as what?
I don't know. That is a really hard question to answer. But first and foremost, I am obsessed with watercolor and the kind of joy-inducing power that it has in anyone's life. So everything that I do kind of stems from that belief and that passion. So, but in reality, I have a wedding stationery design studio, and I'm a YouTuber. I love to teach folks on YouTube, and I'm an author 11 times over now. My newest book is coming out soon. And so I license my artwork. I do all the artsy things.
That's pretty incredible. You have a lot going on. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your YouTube channel. Like, what kind of things do you do on there?
So the YouTube channel is really geared towards beginners or anyone that maybe had experience with watercolor in the past, but has maybe left it go for whatever reason. And I focus a lot on joy and the difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is very circumstantial in our lives and depends on good things happening, good things.
Yeah.
Whereas joy is a lot deeper and, more spiritual, if you will. And so I want folks to find watercolor, and it has that power to be kind of a never ending source of joy. And you don't need to know that much about watercolor for it to provide that joy for us.
Absolutely.
So my channel focuses on simple instruction, creative mindset, and then a little bit more involved instruction depending on what level you're at. So, yeah.
But
that is truly amazing, because we try to focus on the joy of life. I mean, Kara's business is blooming joy flowers, and my main heading is like joy of living with flowers. Dion is all about the joy of painting. And now you talking about that, when I was reading your book, and when in the foreword someone says, the girl that wrote it says, art is not just for people who go to art school or make a career out of it. That was amazing, because that is truly what we're trying to accomplish here. We want everyone to try and bring out the joy in their lives. So we're so excited to be here with you.
Yay.
Kristy, where was your earliest experience at watercolor? Is this something you've been doing your whole life? I've met a lot of creatives in my journey that didn't pick it up until later in life. How about you?
My earliest experience with art was very early, but it wasn't watercolor. I was 6 years old, and my mom thought I was tracing Garfield cartoons, and I wasn't tracing. I was drawing them.
Oh my goodness.
But around 10 years old, my mom was like, okay, she's serious about this. She really loves this. So she put me in art lessons locally. And it was at that point that I was introduced to watercolor, because the local woman that I learned from, watercolor was her thing. And that's what she taught.
Yeah.
And I remember that first class just being like, what is this magical potion on the page? I fell in love with it.
I think that's what I'm noticing is you have you're prolific in not just your expressions, your wording, but in the way that you masterfully do flowers. So I have a favorite page of this book. May I show you?
Yes, I'd love to.
I have a favorite page because I'm also in love with textiles. So on page 136 and 137, Kristy, you show this page of this, it's kind of a vintage chenille floral pattern. Yes. And then you show your interpretation. And in this book, you take us step by step, showing us how you're translating that onto watercolor paper. And just with your proficiency and obviously your experience, but there is a passion. And obviously this is why your books are so successful, my friend. The passion definitely is conveyed through your images and through your videos. And I read your words and I'm thinking, how can you not only be a masterful watercolor artist, yes, described as the Bob Ross of watercolor, I read that in your bio, but your wording, I think that that's a whole, being able to do both of those and being able to gravitate toward this audience, even the audience here, they've been just like this waiting for you to start.
Yeah.
They're chomping at the bit today.
Oh, yay. I do. Thank you for just the many kind words, and I'm blushing really. But I do, as much as I adore painting, I actually feel that my writing they feed one another in a lot of ways. Absolutely. And so I do spend a lot of time writing, and I absolutely think it's just a wonderful outlet for any painter as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, it absolutely shows.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your latest book and what inspired you to write it?
Yeah, so my latest book that's actually currently available is the one you've been showing, and that's Free-Spirited Watercolor, Making Art for Joy's Sake. And yes, that one. And that is my first really in-depth how-to book. So, you know, it's ring bound. It's meant to like get down and dirty with watercolor, you know, and a lot of step-by-step. But I also, because words are a part of me and how I communicate and how I teach, there's a lot of call outs in the book where I try to get inside the beginner artist's head. And as I was writing the book and writing the step-by-steps, I was like, okay, what are they fearing right now? What are they confused right now? And so in the book, you'll see the little call out sections in dark green watercolor. Yes. And that's where I'm addressing those things. Like I wanted folks to feel like I was sitting beside them with this book. You know, I wanted it to be a very dynamic experience. So that was the goal. And there's all sorts of projects in there. There's floral, but there's landscapes, and there's a project where I show you how to paint different gems and rocks, and so there's all sorts of fun stuff in there. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and this is your 10th book, isn't that right? That you've written?
Yes. This was my 10th. Yeah.
That, first of all, that's already amazing. But I'm wondering, are you working on any more books for the future?
Yeah. So right now in October of this year, my 11th book is hitting shelves, as we say, I guess. Thank you. Yes. So this is Adventures in Mixed Media, basically, where I am. It's kind of a workbook, kind of a how-to, but it's where I really deep dive into how to take simple art that you've already created, maybe just washes of color on the page, and then evolve it into something quite more, you know, a lot more, using pen and acrylic and, paper glued onto the page and all sorts of stuff. So it's for sure a mixed media exploration with a lot of different materials.
And are you diving into the cloning industry? Because there must be multiples of you. How in the world are you doing all of that? Like, I'm just like, are you cloning too? How is that happening? Really?
Well, I have a wonderful team. I don't hide them. They're amazing people. So I do have the other business, Momental Designs, where we create bespoke wedding stationery. And that team does a lot of crossover into my watercolor world, my watercolor brand, if you will. So my books and the YouTube channel. So I have an incredible team behind me of really creative and empowered, I hope, women that help me do all the things that I need to do so that I have the time and the space to write or film or whatever it may be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Kristy, I'm really excited because you are actually going to do a little tutorial with us today in watercoloring. And I am a total newbie. I don't know what I'm doing. at all.
Good.
Yuvi's here, so we are really excited.
I can. If you tell me we're gonna paint a zinnia, I know how to grow those. I don't know how to paint them though. So we're gonna let you get set up
Okay.
for that real quick, and then we're gonna bring you back. And I am very excited. And everyone that's watching at home, if you have your watercolors ready, I've got my watercolor paper. Paint along with us. And if you do, and even if you create something later, we would love for you to tag us on our Instagram page.
Yes.
We are on Instagram as Flowers and Friends _talk show on Instagram, and we love to showcase, anything that you guys send in. This Flowers and Friends talk show, it is part of Bloom TV Network. And if you've never heard of Bloom TV Network, it is the world's first flower-focused streaming TV network that's all about flowers. And it's not just about growing flowers, although there is a lot of that there, and I am in that world. We have over 100 different Bloom TV experts, everything from people that talk about and doing things with edible flowers, painting with flowers, just culinary, creating cakes with florals. So we encourage you to check that out at bloomtvnetwork.com.
Absolutely.
While Kristy's getting set up, I'm excited. So this is our 15th episode. And for 15 episodes, I've been traveling to other places to do the live show because I live in Tennessee, live on a farm. Sometimes we don't have the best internet out in the country, and I didn't have great internet to live stream. So I've been traveling elsewhere so I could do this show. But today I am in my flower studio for the first time doing the show. Woohoo! And so, I got to make my background all cute with the flowers that I grow and something I painted last night. Very
exciting. It looks amazing. I hope that you had a little bit more quiet time this morning rather than rushing and having to drive. I mean, your commitment is outstanding because you were driving and then going back through Nashville traffic just to do the show, and it's been totally worth it to you. But we're thrilled that you're there in your home studio. I wrote down one of Kristy's favorite quotes, and she put it in the book, and I think you guys are going to like this. I want to set the mood, all right, because Kristy said this, so let's set the tone. She said, forget rules, forget right. I can handle that kind of attitude, can't you? I love that. And I'm even a painter, but I'm like, forget rules, forget right. So there's no wrong way to do this, ladies. I think we're going to be great.
This is going to be so much fun because this is actually the first time we're actually doing what our guest is doing. So we have everything with us. We're just waiting for Kristy to have her set up, and she's going to guide us to do some watercoloring.
Those of you that are popping on that have never been here with us before, we're thrilled that you're here. We know you're ready to see your girl Kristy paint. She's just working on setting up her camera. And as soon as we see that she's ready to go, we're going to get her on here. She's going to walk us through. We have our watercolors and our watercolor paper. One thing that I did yesterday, I was totally inspired by flipping through the pages. Guys, I went and grabbed a bunch of hibiscus out of my backyard last night.
Tell us
I had
more.
a dream of doing a video on my Bloom channel where I turn pigments from flowers to use on my paintings. And I'm going to do it. I'm doing a little bit more research. But I boiled all of my pink and red hibiscus flowers last night. And I pulled a little bit of color. I pulled a little gum arabic powder, and I'm still working on the whole recipe. But Kristy, my friend, you have totally inspired me. And I love your setup here. I love the overhead cam. Can you hear us, Kristy?
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Kristy?
We may not be able to hear her. That's okay. We'll get it figured out. This is part of live streaming and technology.
And have you checked? We have people from all over.
Yes.
Holland, UK, Ireland, everywhere. Brooklyn. Hello. We are reading your comments, and we love that you're letting us know where you're coming from. We have Denmark. We have Tijuana. We have Texas. Florida. Yay! Thank you, everyone.
You guys, and so we're gonna wait till we hear Kristy say hello. So all of you that have tuned in today to watch her, please hang in with us. You know how live streaming is. I know that Kristy does live streaming as well. So hang tight with us. When we hear her say hello, I will stop what I'm doing and let her come on in and show us how to do her flowers. Until she's ready, here's what I do. I'm usually working with acrylic on my canvases. But I have a super large, so from my perspective, I do large watercolors as well, but I do it a little differently because the paint that I use is a clay-based paint. Kristy, can you hear me? Thanks, you guys. Bear with us. Okay, so it's a clay-based paint. So what that means is when I add water, like Kristy does with the water, when we're painting with water, it's very porous and it absorbs. So what I do is, like, on a huge scale compared to this size, like what Kristy usually does, I use larger brushes, and I'm going to show you kind of an example of how I paint my flowers, but I'm using, like I said, a clay-based paint. So I literally have bowls of color. Just guys, I've got blue, I have pink, and all of my favorite colors that I use for water and that I use for flowers. Was that you, Kristy?
We hear ya?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you, Kristy.
Well, give me a moment. Don't show anything yet because it's a hot mess over here. But working through it.
No worries. You guys, thank you so much for being on here with us. So I'm going to show you how I watercolor because I always in my left hand have a water bottle. This is a fine mist sprayer that I use with my clay-based paint. So let me just give you a quick example, and then I'm going to show you how I do my flowers. I should probably put this on, even though, I try not to get too messy. Bowls of water. I have a green. I have 2 shades of pink. I have a yellow and a blue. All right. So I'm going to pull this a little bit closer. My favorite brush to make flowers is a fan brush.
Oh, okay.
Raise your hand if you have a fan brush, because a lot of people use this for something different, but I love to use it with my flowers.
Okay.
All right. So
We have to get one of those.
Yes, you need a fan brush, and they make them in all different sizes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my light blue that I've watered down. This is my watercolor, and I'm literally just going to slap it on here, guys. No,
oh, wow.
Okay. No big deal. No big deal.
Okay, this is gonna be such. I don't know what I'm talking about. Is watercolor and acrylic different, or is acrylic just watered down? I don't know.
So watercolors can be made from different things, and I'm going to have Kristy talk a little bit more about that because I work more in acrylics. I do water down my acrylics, but people will say that affects the binding in them. Since this is a clay-based paint, it's literally made of 9 ingredients. And so adding water to it keeps the flow of it. And I will build up 4 or 5 layers of a background before I even start with my flowers or whatever it is I'm working on. This is going to be an abstract floral. But see how the water is just still coming out? It's a fine mist sprayer. And then I'm going to take this handy dandy squeegee that you can get at any little hardware store or dollar store. And I'm just going to pull the color and look what happens.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You talk about satisfying. This right here. This is
wow.
Nice. Okay, this is nice.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of like I'm giving it a wash. So I'm giving it a little bit of a watercolor wash. I can also take my pink. I'm going to start in on my flowers here in just 1 second. But this is a fuchsia color. Same brand, same clay-based paint. And the beauty of it being clay-based, it's really highly pigmented. So even though I water it down, it doesn't lose the intensity of the color. So watch this, ladies. So I'm going to use my squeegee and apply the paint And I'm just trying to create kind of an interesting background.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to have the paint drip a little bit.
Okay.
Also, because it's clay, it evaporates kind of quickly.
Wow. Dion, there someone here says, yes to the fan brush, but I don't know how to use it.
Me
And
neither.
All right. I'm going to show you how right now, okay? Because, let's see. Do we have Kristy ready? Is she set up?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Kristy.
we can. You're coming next.
Hallelujah.
Yay.
All right.
And a lot of people have been saying that they've never heard of clay-based paint.
And I love hearing that. I love hearing that so many people haven't heard of it. I use it on my furniture. What I love about it is that it's the greenest, most natural paint because there are only 9 ingredients. So there is not anything in it that's going to harm. I've literally put it on my skin and in my hair just to be a silly goofball. Just to be silly. But I use this entire canvas. It's 40 inches by 30 is covered in a clay-based paint. And what I'm doing is using my fan brush this is how I watercolor because I love a really large scale canvas. So I'm using this and letting, like, girls, see how anybody can do this. Am I right? Yes.
With some practice.
We can practice.
Say yes.
We definitely, it looks happy and joyous and a fun activity.
It's a fun activity. And so I'm starting with the darkest green first. And what I'll end up doing is I would add layers and build up some color. So I can also take a really large brush, which the larger the canvas, the larger the brush you can use. My favorite is my 6-inch. I use this with watercoloring. I always water down my colors. I love that it can really build up layers and kind of pull your eye in visually. So even though I'm painting flowers, and the heavier and more pigmented, the closer it's going to appear to me, while all of this is in the background. So I can also take my large brush and do a really heavy stem. See what happens here? See the real heavy?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Stem?
Okay. Reminds me of iris foliage.
Yes. So I love that you see flowers in everything I do. That makes me even feel better.
Someone just asked, that is this paint the same as ceramic glaze?
It is not. Okay. You can, however, it's not called ceramic glaze. You can, however, paint on metal or glass or any type of slick surface. Because of the clay, it will stick to anything. So one day we painted here on the live for Flowers and Friends Talk Show. I painted on a vase. It was a glass vase, and I took it from a dollar store and gave it the whole anthropology hack. So what I want to do now, though, is I'm going to take a clean fan brush. I would keep working on this. You know what? Let's just do it. Kristy, if you're not quite ready, I'm just going to keep going, my friend.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Oh, well, I say we take a break, let this dry. Let's bring Kristy on, and then I'll follow up after her, okay?
Sounds fabulous.
I think we should do that. I know you guys are all ready to paint, so let's do that.
Yes. Okay.
Yay.
All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So just a quick thing, and you're going to notice that I am painting upside down because technology isn't agreeing with me today, and that's the only angle I can get to work on my phone right now, so it is what it is. But the good thing is that what we're going to paint today is called a fairy tale flower, and it's a flower that exists nowhere in the world. It just exists in our brain. And so it's also a symmetrical flower, so whether I paint it upside down or right side up, nobody knows. So there you go.
Love that.
I have a set of watercolors. I know somebody asked what's the difference between acrylic and watercolor. So acrylic is a polymer-based paint, and acrylic, when it's dried, it's done. It's permanent. It's not going to reconstitute or re-wet. So watercolor is water-based, and when it is dry, you can see these pans are all dry.
Yes.
But when you spray them down, which I always recommend to spray your watercolor. So ladies, you're painting with me. Get those wet. Now, if you have a spray bottle, which I'm sure you probably don't at the ready, just
Oh, I do, girlfriend. Oh, I do.
you know what? I know we've got floral designers here, so I
Should
should
we
be
sprinkle
smart.
or paint if we don't have the spray bottle?
Yep, just take a brush and add a drop of water to each pan or well or whatever.
Okay.
And just drop that water in. You're going to let that sit for like 30 seconds. And that just kind of, as I say, it just kind of juices up the paint and gets it all creamy and easier to pick up on the brush.
Fantastic.
All right. So that's the difference. Watercolor re-wets, reconstitutes. Acrylic does not.
Thank you for that, Kristy, and clarifying, because
sure.
the clay that I use also reconstitutes. I can come back 2 days later and reactivate the paint that's actually on my canvas. I love it.
So cool. That is so cool. I am like I've never heard of the clay paint. I'm just completely blown away.
Oh, girl, we should talk. It's
yes,
fantastic, because for a lifestyle like mine, where I have to come back a few days later to actually work on the same project.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful way to continue your process.
So interesting. And I'm assuming it dries quickly.
Yes, it dries very quickly. Yeah. Yep.
Very cool. Okay. So I am going to use, let me see. I'm going to use a round brush today. My favorite brush in the whole wide world is a dagger brush. I actually have a set of paint brushes that I've designed myself. This is not a promo. It is what it is. But
yeah.
I love a dagger brush, and I have 2 dagger brushes in my collection. You know what? I'm going to use a dagger brush because it's cool and fun. But if you only have a round brush like this, use a round brush.
That's what I have.
Okay, great. Wet your brush, grab your favorite color. Do not worry about what color is Kristy using. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Grab your favorite color. Make sure your brush is damp. You want the color on your brush to feel nice and juicy, as I call it. And then you're going to go somewhere in the middle of your page, and you're going to press down, and you're going to start to drag your brush. And as you start to drag, increase your pressure. You can curve a little bit. You don't want it to be a straight line. And as you drag, you can keep curving. And then as you drag a little bit longer, start to lift up. And that's going to be the sort of the mark. Your mark's going to look different than my mark, but I'll skip ahead quickly and show you what we're creating. We're going to do that press, drag, and lift again. You can start to see the petal there, and then wet your brush and fill in the middle. So think about an imaginary center. I'm going to kind of sketch it in with pencil just so you all can see it. But I normally wouldn't do this. But there's the center of our flower. And we're just going to go around the flower with that press, drag, and lift. You can go from the center out, and you can go from the outer tip in. Press, drag, and lift. A little wiggle, a little curve, and then fill in the middle. And we're just going to keep repeating that. Every petal should look different. So this one, I'm really getting a nice little wiggle going there. It's a little skinnier. I'm going back to my water as I do this, adding more water to my brush so I can fill in the middle. I'm going to go in and grab this reddish pink here, press, drag, lift. And I'm going to do it again. Watch close. Press, pressing harder as I drag. Now I'm starting to lift all the way off. And fill in the middle. Now this time with the fill in, I used a little purple because I felt like it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just had to throw some pink in too because I'm like, let's.
Now I'm going back up here and pulling that purple in just from what's on my brush. I didn't reload.
Okay.
All right, and then we're gonna end up with 5 petals because compositionally speaking, odd numbers are more visually attractive than even numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then fill in the middle. Again, I like that fill in with purple, so I'm going to do it again.
Okay. I'm using
All right.
purple too. It's my fave.
There you go. I'm just going to grab a little bit of peach, a little bit of yellow on my brush at the same time and go ahead and just dab in that center.
Awesome.
All right. And then now what you want to do is we're going to add some leaves. And there's a couple of ways that we can do this. This technique that we've been using so far is what's called wet on dry. It's wet color, wet brush on dry paper. It gives you a bolder look. It gives you more control. And it's honestly the technique that I probably use more than any other technique. However, wet on wet, which I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to go ahead and grab a big brush. Well, big for me. I don't work on those big canvases. This is a 3/4 inch flat wash brush, also from my collection. And I'm going to grab my favorite green on this particular palette. That wasn't green, that was brown. Good night. I'm just going to load it up. Again, really damp brush, lots of color on there. And I'm going to hold the brush almost perpendicular to the page. And I'm going to go down here in between between two of the petals. And I'm going to press and start to drag back towards myself and curve as I'm dragging and then lift. And I kind of got a blunt edge down here, but I'll fix that. I'm going to go back up here where I started, press, curve, wiggle, drag, and meet up with my first stroke and lift. Wet the brush, fill in the middle. And there you have your leaf. You can go and grab a little yellow, pop that in there. This is still wet on dry.
Okay.
If you want, now everything in this leaf is wet. Now you could play around with a little wet on wet. So anything you add right now is going to start to travel a lot easier on the page because you're adding it to the wet page. I'll show you another way to do wet on wet that is super fun. Okay. You're going to paint a leaf with water. Just paint it with water.
Just water. Okay.
Just water.
Okay.
How's everybody doing? How we feeling?
I feel intense.
Yes, that's perfectly normal. It's all good. You're fine. You're
gonna love this. Someone just said, I just realized I bought Kristy's brushes last weekend.
Oh my gosh. Stop it.
I love that.
Get out. Well, they are on Amazon, so I do have quite the reach there on Amazon, so you never know. That's really cool. All right, so I painted my leaf with water. Now I'm going to go in with color and just start to dab it in. And that's going to give you a different look and feel. I'm grabbing a little pink. Don't be startled. I love putting pink in my leaves. My floral designers know why.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, a lot of the flowers that I grow, it's really interesting. When you really look at them up close, it looks like the petals are painted.
Yep, absolutely. And then I added a little bit of dark green here on the underside of my leaf. And I always say I work in a lot of teardrop shapes. So think of a teardrop and let that be your guide for making very simple leaf or petal shapes. And think of a teardrop that has two pointed ends. Think of a teardrop where the rounded edge is a little more squared off. And then if you think about things that way, you can create a whole myriad of shapes of petals and leaves. So think about the teardrop.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
I'm going up here. I am using a dagger brush and I'm going to dab. Whoops, too close. Dab and lift to create kind of a simple little vine, and then press, drag, and lift, and instantly you have a little tiny leaf. Press, drag, and lift. Press, drag, and lift. I'm going to go ahead and do that with a round brush because that's probably what most people have.
Okay.
I'm going to dip into my favorite green. I very rarely call out the exact colors I'm using, like the brand or the pigment numbers, because I don't want folks to get hung up on all that nonsense. I want you to use what you have, use what you love.
Amen.
All right, I'm going to go up here. I'm kind of thinking about this being a vine that's kind of like an S curve right through my fairy tale flower here. So if I were to go like this. Where would it end? It would come out here, and I'm going to create a little line. And then I'm going to press really hard because the liner brush or the round brush needs a little more encouragement to make a thicker mark. Press, drag, start lifting almost immediately. Press, drag, lift. Press, drag, lift. And you start to see you have a cute little vine. This is loose watercolor. This isn't realistic watercolor. This is a great entry point for anyone who's really new to watercolor because it's low pressure. You know, you're not trying to recreate nature. You're trying to embellish it. You're trying to distill nature down to the parts you love the most.
Oh, I love that so much, Kristy.
Very freeing. Very freeing.
When did you decide that you actually wanted to teach others and be an educator for watercolor?
You know, I actually have a degree in art education, and I think I did it. I know I did that because I thought it was like the responsible thing to do for someone who had no other skills but art.
Aww. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, you know, I was in college in the late 90s, and, you know, it was a time when art, entrepreneurial, especially artistic entrepreneurial things were not encouraged. Okay. You were either a starving artist or got famous, and there was really no in between. So I went into art education, couldn't get a job after college, of course.
Yeah.
But I realized I still love teaching, you know?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so I went into business with the wedding stationery because I was like, well, at least I can be creating art for people, you know?
Sure.
It's for weddings, but that's okay. That's cool. And that's what we, you know, literally people just commission our team to create artwork for their wedding invitations. But then you know, I did that and I'm still doing it. We're almost into our 20th year doing that. But when COVID hit,
yes,
everybody has their COVID story.
Yes.
Us business owners, you know, and weddings kind of, and I'm press dragging and lifting here as I'm talking. And I'm kind of bumping them into each other. So it looks like a different kind of vine. Anyway, when weddings went away for, almost a year, I had to figure some stuff out. And I was like, well, I know how to teach. And I already had a YouTube channel that I kind of had abandoned. And when I started teaching again, something lit up in me. Oh. And I was like, gosh, I miss this. And that's how I got back to it. Well, COVID has changed the trajectory of so many businesses. And when did you find that did you just naturally gravitate towards flowers? Because that's the majority, it seems like, of what you paint. Yes. I mean, flowers are like my thing. And I always seem to gravitate towards flowers. I don't know why. I get asked that question a lot, like, why flowers? I always loved Georgia O'Keeffe. I loved Georgia O'Keeffe before she kind of, you know, was on calendars and became kind of a thing. And I just loved the way that she kind of distilled what she loved and what she saw first in a flower, what beauty she saw. And so it's always been flowers for me. And I love landscapes, but I prefer to paint landscapes like on plein air, in person. Yeah. I added a little bud here, friends, and I just did a couple press drags and lifts right next to each other to create this like bigger shape here. Okay. Just so you kind of know where I'm at. I'm going back up in the middle of the flower next, so get ready to come with me. And I'm grabbing purple, a lot of purple, and then a little bit of blue on my brush. Okay. And I'm going to use the tip of my brush, and I'm going to just dab around the outer edge, making marks that have a little space in between. Ooh. Just to create a little contrast. And then I'm going to go in the middle and kind of draw like a lazy circle with that really dark color. there you have it.
Love it, girl. This is beautiful.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, Anna, are you having fun?
No,
Let's see.
I'm having fun. But I don't like what I'm doing.
You know what? Here, let me take this opportunity because that is not an uncommon reaction. So what I want you to realize, and I know it's kind of cliche, but it's truly, when it comes to watercolor, I want you to concentrate more on how you feel. You should feel like someone, earlier it was mentioned there was an intensity, and that is normal, but let that intense feeling be laced with joy. Like when you're starting to feel intense, look at parts of your painting, find a small part of your painting that you really love. Like, for example, I'm kind of obsessed with this pink and green leaf right here. And I really love my vine up here. So I teach folks to really learn and build a habit of being kind to yourself while you're painting, because it's so important. Otherwise, it's so easy to get caught up in the more obvious emotions of painting for the first time or being a beginner. And those emotions are what? Frustration, confusion, maybe, dislike for what you're doing. It's so easy to get stuck there. But I want to teach you to find the moments that are actually bringing you a lot of joy and get stuck there instead.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome.
And someone just wrote, my first leaf turned out like something from Stranger Things of Harry Potter.
Hey,
I wish we
that's
could
okay.
see what you guys are painting back home because
Well,
you
take
can.
a photo, send it to us on Instagram.
Yes, please.
Feel comfortable.
Yes. So I'm gonna. This wasn't planned, so forgive me, friends, but I'm gonna do something here that you can do when you are getting stressed. Maybe you're trying this flower and you're feeling more stressed than anything else. I want you to put that to the side. And what I want you to do is what I call color bumping.
Okay.
And you're just gonna grab color and paint it on the page. And you're gonna grab another color, and I splattered, and it doesn't matter. And you're gonna grab another color, and you're gonna just bump those colors up next to one another. And you're gonna, because what this does, it's so simple, but it really forces you to enjoy just the pureness of what watercolor does, the magic of what watercolor does, and not worry about creating any particular thing. So color bump with me because it's super fun.
I love that. That's kind of my concept it's kind of like I clean my palette when I finger paint and I create floral paintings, and it's cleaning my palette I love the direction that you're going because you're switching gears in your mind, aren't you, Kristy?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You're no longer thinking flower, brushstroke, oh my gosh, flower, detail, contrast. What? That's not happening in your brain anymore. You're just like color. Ooh, that's fun. Ooh, look at that. Wow, color. Like that's what your brain's doing when you do something like this. Yes. Because you're not trying to replicate anything. You're just putting color on the page.
It's fantastic. I love your description of that.
Thank you.
Yes. So Anna,
I think what you're fun.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
Thank you.
And this is often where I tell people to start because it's so low stress, So this is a great place. Like for the gal that mentioned she just bought my brushes. A lot of folks will buy my brushes or buy my palette and they will let them sit for weeks or months. Do this. Get them out today. And color bump. Do this. Just do this. Because I always say, what's that mantra? The first step is the hardest, right? I actually like to put a spin on that. If your first step is small enough and simple enough, it's actually the easiest. And that's what I love because that first step is what builds momentum. Like I was taught in business years ago to do the first thing, like if you have a goal.
Yes.
To do the thing that is the easiest thing to do. It's the quickest, it's the easiest, and to do another one and do another one. And before you know it, you're going to have the mental momentum to do the big hard thing. So what I want is to build like this creative momentum for folks that I work with and teach. I want you to figure out and learn, because building creative momentum is a habit. It's a habit you learn for sure.
Absolutely. I totally agree 100%.
Yeah, someone just wrote, I just got better because I quit caring about how it looked and started enjoying the process. I think
Absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let go of what the end product is going to be and focus on the actual process. Not only will you enjoy it more, but 9 times out of 10, the actual end product will be something that gives you joy and happiness and even a little bit of pride.
Absolutely.
Like,
And I'm happy to answer questions if anybody in the chat or y'all painting with me have questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Now, Kara, is your daughter over there painting?
Well, she had to go help her sister with something.
Okay.
So
okay.
she will come back and finish after the show.
I'm not sure I'm gonna read this correct, but Fru Diderrichen just wrote, "Oh my goodness, what am I doing? Please send us a picture. We would really love to see what you're doing."
Yes.
This color blocking is fun.
It is. It's super fun. I'm going to grab another sheet.
Just enjoy. If you don't like it, start over. Love that.
Yeah.
It's just paper. Just enjoy.
Oh my gosh, I do that so much. Like I probably have 20 paintings going at a time, because like my creative brain is very hard to tame and hard to keep entertained. And I'm okay with that. Instead of fighting against that, go with it. Start a new one, but don't throw away the old one. I just sprayed the paper here. It's just a little scrap, but I sprayed it down. If you don't have a sprayer, you could just wet it with a clean brush, and then you can go in and see what happens too with some color bumping. And the fun thing about these, when they're dry, you can go over them with a black pen, a Sharpie, whatever, and you could doodle on top of them. Really fun.
I love. Kristy, I know that you love to paint flowers. Where do you get your inspiration from for that? Do you grow flowers?
I actually do. I have some I basically like all of my landscaping is just a big cutting garden, basically.
Yeah.
And so I've just been popping more things in the ground over the years. I do have a fenced-in dahlia garden. And so my dahlias are just starting to pop. I have peonies, peony season. So I grow all sorts of things under the guise of having like landscaping, but really it's just a bunch of wild little gardens.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Girl, I love hearing that.
Yeah. So I adore, I'm that obsessed that, I'm not like an avid gardener. It's not like my favorite thing, but knowing that I can get flowers out of it is my inspiration.
You know, that was what I found interesting. I started growing cut flowers 4 years ago, and it was more like in a row style fashion. But it wasn't until I started creating the cutting gardens like you're talking about, that really gave me the jump to create. And I learned that I loved to create floral designs just by walking through my gardens, because I saw that it inspired me. And I didn't even know that until I started planting the cutting gardens. So it's amazing how something simple like that really can inspire you. I don't paint, but I have been very inspired to paint lately. And so I actually got some acrylic out last night, and I just started painting flowers, and I didn't go into it trying to paint a specific one because I knew that I probably couldn't make it look realistic. And as I was painting it, I started to see some anemone flowers that I grew 2 years ago. And it's easy to make that connection.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love that, Kara. You started to, because it was kind of stored in your memory, right? It was kind of housed there, like, okay, I know how to do a flower. I've seen them. I grow them.
Yes.
Ladies, I'm having so much fun. I want to stay here all day, but I have no idea how we're doing on time.
Right. I don't either. I'm paying.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? That is a byproduct of joy, losing track of time.
Yes,
It's called the joy. It's called the joy zone in my world. Just saying.
There's a great question here.
Okay.
If you are a paintbrush hoarder like I am and have many to choose from, how do you decide which shape or bounds to use for any given piece?
Well, you know, the larger the paper or the canvas, the larger the brush. That was mentioned before. That's a great way to go. I'm a little bit more of a less is more type of gal. That is why I use a dagger, because it's got, you know, the curved edge, it's got the pointed edge, it's got all the things, and it can make really pretty broad strokes. The further you go in a painting, if you're starting to add more detail, your brush is just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah. So that's a good guide. In general, in watercolor, like a good like number 10 round or number 12 round is a great starting point if you're working on, say, just more standard, like a 9x12 sheet of paper. So it really, I think a general rule of thumb, start larger, go smaller, and kind of figure out from there, though, what your favorite brushes are. One of the best things you can do with your brush hoard is to take some time in a sketchbook or wherever, take some time and really figure out what they do. And that can be taking a brush and making some marks, seeing if you can repeat them. I have brush drills on my YouTube channel. So like I'm literally going up and down with this 1/2 inch dagger. What does it do? All right, go up and down on the curved edge. Oh, wow, it creates a thin line. Cool. You know, go do a serpentine, little S, see what it does. Oh, nice. Do that with all your brushes, document it. And that process alone can be extremely cathartic. But I would suggest, if you do have a significant brush collection, to take some time to do some drills with each brush and document it so you know what you have.
I love that so much. I was going to say also to elaborate on that a little bit more. If you use large brushes, I would literally grab like a scrap piece of wood. Or the funny thing is, we're so scared to use those brushes. And I know you mentioned that earlier, Kristy, is that they'll buy your brushes and they'll sit there, and I bought them and I don't, because it's like it's like burning that candle or using the fine china, or it's that they're saving it for the perfect moment.
Right.
And they're robbing themselves of joy, like you've mentioned. They're robbing themselves. So get it out and play with it and get an old piece of wood and just see what markings that particular shape of brush makes. If you're not wanting to ruin your paper, you know, use a scrap piece of wood out in the garage or something and just play on it.
Absolutely.
You know what I find interesting about this color blocking? So I didn't know until I started growing a cut flower garden that I love the color purple so much, because I kept buying purple flowers. And so with this color blocking, I am trying real hard to use every color on my palette. But now that I have so many colors on my color block, it's really interesting going back and looking at it and seeing like what color family I am painting a lot of, it seems like. And of course, I have a whole lot of purple on here.
Yep. You're going to find, Kara, what makes your heart beat. If you pay attention and really focus on, okay, how do I feel right now when I'm using this color? You'll feel that like bump, like it gets you a little bit excited. And when those colors mold together, you'll say, oh, like this is part of me. You know, I have the word turquoise in my business name because it's always been a color that has just been a part of me. I don't even know how to describe that, but it is something that when I'm using turquoise, I feel like a different person, and I know it's part of me.
Well, I've definitely discovered purple lights me up. Did not know this until I started growing flowers.
There you go.
Love that so much. All right, guys. So I think we have to kind of put a hold on, or you guys can keep painting. How about that? I'm going to set mine over to the side and I'm going to show you. So this is what I have so far. Let me see if I can tilt my camera. But before we go, so there's what I have. Kristy, thank you so much for helping me with this.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun. Love it.
Yeah. Well, I want you to stick around. I'm going to go ahead and just do a flower or two on my large canvas and finish up my little segment, because what you can see now is the clay paint is completely dry. And the way that we did our colors here, I used 2 different greens to create shadowing and texture.
Yeah.
Usually you can use 3, 4, but I also added in a really thin liner of blue. Just like when Kristy was mentioning, you could use a pen or whatever markings that you want to use to create more definition. So I would do that on my big canvas as well, if there were more time. But I just used one flat green. It's called Fancy Farm Girl. That's the name of the color, but it doesn't matter. Just a warm green, probably the darker one. And then I would bring in something like this. And this is kind of more of an emerald. I'm going to get a clean fan brush. And I am going to mist my whole canvas and add, not where it's dripping. I don't want it dripping off, but I want it to be really soft, because the clay paint will move easier across the canvas. So I'm literally just going to go back over a few of those stems. And because I've misted the canvas, it moves across it and just drags really easily. See how I'm just kind of creating a little bit more definition. Thinking about the tips that Kristy said, where she said, do the tip, press down a little bit harder to get the width, and then let it up towards the bottom. And anybody, can you guys see me okay?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start in on a flower here in just a second, but I'm doing the exact same thing, just in a larger scale with a different medium, but the same concept. Just organic, just whatever flows. There's no rules. I'm not looking at an image, but I have muscle memory of knowing what flowers look like, right?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to clean my little fan brush, not in my tea bowl. I just about dipped it in the tea bowl. Anybody done that?
Every day.
Girl.
Every day.
It's hysterical. I'm like, oh, not that one. All right, so let me get a little bit of pink. Now this is a color, just a deep pink. I'm going to start with this deep pink first.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to pick a spot where I want a flower to go. I'm lightly misting it, and I'm just going to make those same type of petals that we just did on our watercolor paper.
Okay.
As big as I want. Look, just naturally.
And you're using your fan brush, right?
I am. I'm going to pretend the wind is blowing.
Okay.
Blowing straight through this field of flowers, and I'm going to have them just kind of rocking and rolling off to the side. The more drips, the better, because I actually love the fluidity and rhythm of the actual drips provide an abstract painting. And then I'm going to do my 5th little petal as just one, as if it were kind of falling off to the side. And while my brush is dirty, I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to go into a coral colored. It's a little bit warmer. It's going to create a little bit more contrast. And I'm going to go over just a few of those petals. You see how it's kind of starting to pop off the canvas a little bit more?
Yeah. I love the color contrast. I see Dimitri Trivial just asked, how can I follow them? Let's see here. If you're talking about the Flowers and Friends talk show, which what you're watching right now, we're on Instagram at flowerandfriends_talk show. And all of our past episodes are on bloomtvnetwork.com. You can watch them all there.
And every week we have a different expert. I mean, we've had people cooking with flowers. We've had painters. We've had flower arranging. We've had DIY projects, but everything's related to flowers.
Yeah.
All right. So before, last thing I'm going to do really quickly, I would keep working on this painting, guys. This could take me days because of course, the size of it. But I'm just going to drop a little yellow here.
Okay.
The paint's still wet, but I'm completely fine with it. It's going to drip. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just do it your way, okay?
Okay.
All right. You like that? Just do it your way. Whatever that looks like. That's what you've got to do, right, Kristy?
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay, you all. I am absolutely so thrilled you guys have joined us. I think we have to kind of say goodbye. But I think we can all raise our hand and agree. Could we please have Kristy back on another episode, maybe in the fall, and we can work on something a little bit more holiday-ish, maybe even?
Yes, sounds good.
Ooh, what about pumpkins? That would be fun.
Sure.
We could totally do that. We need to go over some things. I'm having the most fun that I'm like, I'm off track. We need to go over some things. You guys, one way that you can actually get some of this paint that I keep talking about is to enter our giveaway. So on bloomtvnetwork.com, you can actually go and pop in your email and enter a giveaway, because whoever wins is getting an annual subscription to Bloom TV Network, which is a huge, huge discount. Obviously, it's free, but I'm also going to send you some of this paint that I keep talking about. So I want to send every week one of our winners right on it. And I think we have a winner from last week.
We have a winner from last week. Let's put it on screen. Bettina Casenave. Bettina Casenave.
Congratulations.
Yes. So you need to contact us so we can send you a code to access Bloom TV. And so Dion can send you the free paint every week. You can submit to be a winner next week. So please, we want you to subscribe to our newsletter and join us every week, because we have the best guests every week, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. And we just want to thank our sponsors today. Schiffer Publishing is actually one of the sponsors of Bloom TV Network, and you can find Kristy Rice's book through them. It is called the How to Make Art for Joy's Sake. It's her latest book to come out. We want to show you guys a quick video, and then we will come back and say goodbye.
Awesome.
Oh.
We have built the world's first flower-focused streaming network, bringing the public educational and entertaining shows that highlight the magic of flowers. Learn how to heal through flowers, cook with flowers, design your living space to reflect nature, make crafts using florals, sustainably garden, and so much more. We are your network for all things floral. Join us at Bloom TV as we help bring beauty to the lives of people and the planet through nature's most beautiful creation, the flower.
Thank you, Kristy, for spending your afternoon with us. This was wonderful and magical and so incredibly joyful.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. We hope to see you next week. Tell them why, Kara?
Because everything is better with flowers and friends. Bye, guys. Thank you.